Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to recover profit across the supply chain. Now, there's a bunch of different things we're going to be talking about, but this is going to be an incredible podcast. I was talking with our guest in Mexico about a variety of these topics, and man, my ears perked up. So if you're an Amazon seller, you got to listen into this podcast. And we're also going to be focusing on profit is more important than ever. How 22 has become the year, get this, of Amazon fee gouging. We're going to get in much more into detail with that. And the most effective yet most underutilized profit recovery strategy sellers are overlooking. So welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast.
Lunch with Norm, lunch with Norm, lunch with Norm, lunch with Norm.
Like I said earlier, today is going to be a great podcast. We're talking about how to recover profit across the supply chain. So if you know people that that are Amazon sellers right now that are suffering with some Amazon charges or trying to fight the extra fees, tune in and we'll show you a few ways how to build a strategy around this and become more profitable. Our guest is an Amazon inventory management expert and co-founder and CEO of SoStocked. And if you don't know SoStocked is an Amazon inventory management software. It's awesome. Also, she is an Amazon seller, speaker, and consultant, and her clients include 7- and 8-figure sellers. Today, repeat guest, awesome lady, Chelsea Cohen will be joining us. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor. If you're selling on Amazon in 2022, you know how important it is to stand out from your competition. Let Hono Worldwide lend a helping hand with your product innovation to outcompete your competition online. That's right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the success of your newly innovative product while Hono handles all the work. Visit honoworldwide.com for more information. That's Honu, Honu, worldwide.com, or email savings@honuworldwide.com. All right, where is the Squire?
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going, Norm?
I'm doing fine. How about you, Kelsey?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a beautiful day here in Toronto, and I can't wait for today's episode, which I want to give a shout out to some of our beardos joining us. Howard Kaufman is already saying it's a great topic. Can't wait for it. And Michael Eastman, great guest. So let us know where you're watching from today. Also, this is a live podcast, so if you have any questions at all, you can always put them over in the comment section, and we'll get to them the second half of the show. So again, comments, get them over, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. And of course, don't forget to smash those like buttons and give us a thumbs up. You can share this out to any other beardos that might be interested in today's topic. Also, if you're watching from YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We just hit 2,000 last week, and super pumped about that. And yeah. And if you're new to Lunch with Norm, you don't know what we're talking about, we highly recommend going over to the Lunch with Norm Facebook group that's filled with a bunch of experts. Any of the guests and experts from the show, a majority of them are in the Facebook group along with the community as well. So if you have questions, if you want to just connect and network, that's the place to do it. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I'll be over in the comment sections talking to you guys, and yeah, enjoy.
Very good. All right, like Kelsey, like Kelsey said, if you have questions or comments, throw them into the comments section. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. If not, we'll answer them in the Facebook group. Now, this is going to be a very interesting topic today. And like I said, if you are going to ask questions, I would get them in early because I think the questions will be starting to add up. All right. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee. Where is Chelsea?
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hello.
I have not seen you since Mexico. Geez, 1 week ago.
Yes, so long.
So, what have you been up to since you've been back? Anything new? Anything exciting?
Anything exciting? I got sick. Had to cancel a couple podcasts, so that was fun. But yeah, recovered, bounced back pretty quickly, and just I've moved, so been doing a lot of unpacking.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I was hinting at yeah, you had COVID, I guess, when
Yes.
you got back. So I am
Yes.
so glad that you have recovered.
Yeah, it was only like 2.5 days. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Did
Pretty
like
smoothly.
after you had it, did you have a little bit of brain fog?
I guess a little bit of tiredness. It was not as bad as when I had it the first time when I went to Prosper in 2021. I was in bed for like 3 weeks, so that was pretty
Oh.
crazy.
Yeah, I've only had it once, and it was actually the worst. The worst experience was getting my shot,
Mm-hmm.
and that gave me the worst symptoms out of everything. So,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, I've had it, and hopefully, it's just if I get it again, which I probably will, it'll just be sniffles.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, enough about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Chelsea, you got my attention in Mexico because your your presentation was very unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't expecting what you were talking about, and seeing some of the information that you were presenting. I mean, it was fantastic. So I can't wait to get into it. And I mean, we could start off. I don't know if you want to start anywhere else, but why is focusing on profit more important than ever right now in 2022?
Yeah. So it's really more important than ever because of how expensive everything is getting. We've gone through, 2020, 2021, and seen all of the fees increase with the shipping, longer lead times, which means your cash is tied up for longer. All of those things have been a problem, and they haven't really gone back to, normal. I don't think that we're going to see them, see post 2020 rates ever, possibly. But 2022 specifically has gotten really, really difficult for sellers because of a couple of things that Amazon has done with their fee structure. And so, if you start kind of digging into what they've done, they've actually, it extends across a wide breadth of things that touch, various different services that touch our products. And if you're not careful, you could find yourself with products that are no longer profitable.
So why don't we get into each one of them, and then Kelsey, maybe we can make a list and post it, or Chelsea, if you have a slide with each one of these, maybe we can post it into the Facebook group.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of different ones, and there's certain fees that if you're not paying attention, and I'll let you talk about the percentages.
Yeah.
But if you're not watching your account, you might be surprised, to say the least.
Yeah.
I'll keep it clean.
Yeah.
Surprised, to say the least, if
Yeah.
you take a look at your fees right now. So why don't we talk about, a few of them and list them out, and then we'll post them in the Facebook group.
Sure. The first and most dramatic of the fees is actually a series of fees that implement something called dimensional weight. And this came about like beginning of the year. It came about with the rollout of, what we can always expect, which is first couple months of the year, Amazon raises the fees in general. And so, of course, this year was like, not any different. And an average of 21 cents per unit was the increase for FBA fulfillment fees themselves. But the big shift came in the form of, like I said, dimensional weight. And so what dimensional weight is it's a way of looking at both the size and the weight of a product and adjusting the shipping weight based on the size. So Amazon's going to look at what FedEx and UPS and these other carriers look at now, which is using a calculation, and it's a fairly easy calculation, but using a calculation to determine if your product is so big that they want to charge you more for that product because they can't get as many into the truck because it's so big. So think of things like a pillow is a very easy kind of comparison. It's light, but it's large. And so they'll do a calculation and they'll say, we're going to look at your dimensions. We're going to multiply your length, width, and height and get a number and take that number and we're going to divide it by what is called a dim divisor. And that dim divisor is 139. And that's going to give us your new weight. So some products have a new weight. So they may be, in an instance of a pillow, 3 pounds. You have a product that's 3 pounds, but when you put it through this fancy dimensional weight calculation, it now becomes 12 pounds. And so you're shipping based on a 12-pound product instead of a 3-pound product. So the cost is exponentially higher for you just basically overnight when they made this change.
And you were mentioning that, I'm not sure if it's one of your clients, but somebody you had recently talked to had an increase. Am I correct? 90% or something like
94%.
that?
Yep. 94%. Wow. Yeah. So that's, and that can be a profit killer for some people. Luckily, they had enough margin that they were able to weather that, but get you to start thinking about how can you possibly repackage your product to get it into a smaller area.
So I'm dealing with memory foam. And one of the things that we've done in the past was, and you talked about it in Mexico as well, but we do this now, is we will shrink wrap it. We'll vacuum pack it so we can make it much smaller into a smaller box where it's heavy, but it helps us out with those freight costs.
Right. Yep. Yeah. That's, those are the things that you need to start kind of thinking about is, can I package this differently? Can I vacuum seal it? Can I roll it? What can I do to get it smaller, to get it into that lower size tier? And
typically, like, I'm going back to, ASM for, 3, 4. Package size really didn't. It was like, look at, you buy a package of chips, they're all air. Nowadays you would have to make sure that, your, whatever your package is as small as you can make it. And that it all comes down to size, like you said. And if you're out a half inch, if you're out an inch, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Amazon's getting, they're not messing around. And this year they came out swinging for sure, on a lot of different levels. And, a lot of people know about what we're talking about is just dimensional weight fees for fulfillment fees. But there are some other fees that are now utilizing dimensional weight that it's very interesting. Amazon's very sneaky with how they kind of roll these things out and how they announce these things. One of the places where they are doing the dimensional weight is also removal orders. So removal units are now being, and I remember back in the day when they were 20 cents a unit, no matter what the size was.
Right.
20 cents, and then they became 30 cents, and we could all weather that. But now you've got products where people are paying, multiple dollars to remove a product. So you have to be really smart with how much you're sending in, and can you actually move that product, or, are you going to have to remove it? It becomes a lot more expensive. And interestingly enough, Amazon has a liquidation program, which is a flat rate, and it's a lot more financially lucrative for you to, I wouldn't say financially lucrative. It's a lot less expensive for you to liquidate a product than for you to actually, remove that product, which I think is fairly sneaky. Makes you wonder what Amazon is getting on the back end of those liquidations. But, these are the types of things that are happening. Just, things that I always like to ask, what is in it for Amazon? And kind of raises some eyebrows.
So on the liquidation, you said it was a flat fee. Like, what kind of fees are you looking for?
So on the liquidation, I believe it's around 30 cents or so. You pay that fee, and then they're going to pay you on the back end. They're going to pay you like 10, 15% of whatever your retail value was. But then with your removal orders, those fees have increased by about 50%, even beyond beyond dimensional weight. So you have not only the removal fees are increasing, and they're increasing in a tiered structure. It's no longer a flat rate, but it's the increase of 50%. And then you can get into dimensional weight, which could increase your fees, significantly more.
The other fees that are affecting sellers now, can we get into those?
Yeah.
I think what you've just talked about is the most significant rate
Uh-huh.
increase, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Those are the ones that impact, I think, the most people. Actually, there are a couple of other ones that impact pretty much everybody, but those are some of the ones that we are used to having to deal with. There are a couple of others that maybe fall into the, hopefully you can avoid them category. But the other one that impacts everyone is called the fuel and inflation surcharge.
All right.
And they're calling it the surcharge in hopes that they won't have to do it. They can remove it at some point in the future, or they're just calling it that to kind of, soften the blow to us. And that fee is essentially, not only have they increased your fulfillment fees, but they also have tacked on an additional 5% fuel and inflation surtax. So my friends who were paying, had to pay an extra 94% on top of what they were used to paying are now actually paying 99% because they have that extra 5% on top of it. So everyone has a 5% increase on top of what they had in the fulfillment fees.
At what point does it make more sense to drive traffic over to Shopify than on Amazon? Like, I know Amazon is a captivated market.
Yeah.
Is it time?
I mean, I think it always depends on your product. For commodity products, which hopefully most people are getting out of, commodity-based products, it may be that most people are going to Amazon. They're going to stay going to Amazon. But if you have a unique product, especially people who are in certain spaces like, the health space, the beauty space, those types of things, I think it's starting to make a lot more sense for people with more, with those types of brands to start, hedging their bets and sending some traffic over to their own websites. It's probably going to get hopefully easier. Amazon's going to start fulfilling. They're starting to fulfill a lot more of that. So, you get into the same problem. So if your Shopify is connected to Amazon, it's not like you're making any big change because your stuff is at Amazon, but that's where you start looking at the third-party fulfillment.
So for the listeners, I'm curious about how these effects have affected you and what you have done to get around it. Not get around it, but how do you adjust?
Yeah.
I think right now, and I don't know, I hate using the term know your numbers, but it's probably the biggest thing you can do right now. If you go in, let's say that you went in with 30% margins, thinking that you were good, you were fine. Well, you're not good and you're not fine anymore. You have to have, like I always use, and I don't know what you're using, but just landed fees. I have a landed product. I'm trying to get 4 times that. I mean, nice, simple formula. 4 times my landed fee, and I still think I can make a profit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think that, the days of, 2014 when 30% was the margin, it's every year, that Amazon's going to increase the fees. Every year, that your competitors are going to lower that price. So in order to compete, you can't start out at the bottom. You can't start out with a narrow margin and expect that, 2 years from now, your company is still going to be profitable. So I think that's, for Forex is a really good rule of thumb because it does give you that, that leeway to be able to kind of play around with what might be needed to actually survive in a market with such crazy fluctuations like this.
And with So Stocked, you get to know your numbers. You have to plug them in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're plugging in numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I always say garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So you have to, like, that 3 cents that you do for the insert, the 25 cents you do for your packaging, the landed cost, any charges whatsoever, you've got to build in, or you're getting a false read on what your profit and loss really are.
Yeah.
But SoStock has that, right?
You can add in your cost basis and your shipping basis. So it would be something that you would add into the cost of goods sold. We are getting into more granularity. My ultimate goal is to get to the point where you're able to look at what you paid in shipping per order, per shipment, per SKU, what's your landed cost per SKU, and then as the months go by, that SKU is less and less profitable because you're taking on the additional storage costs. So that's the ultimate goal with SoStock. We're not quite there yet. We do have shipping and we do have the cost of goods, and then you should just be putting your cost of goods within your cost of goods. You need to be adding your packaging and your inserts and all of that on top of that.
Yeah, one of the things that you said earlier on was the amount of product that you're shipping over to Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I think now, 2022, more than ever, you
Mm-hmm.
really have to find a good 3PL that you could work with,
Yep.
that you can have X number of units and you know what it's going to cost you.
Mm-hmm.
All the rates broken down, your pick, pack, ship rates, there's a lot when you're looking at a 3PL. There's a lot of nickel and diming that goes on. So make sure you know all those costs. But if you're sending out way too much inventory, you're going to pay for it. And usually a 3PL is cheaper than sending it over to Amazon. So that was a really good point that you made.
Mm-hmm.
Any other fees that we got to look out for?
Unfortunately, yeah. Let's see. So there are two other fees. One is an aged inventory fee. We've been used to paying when you have inventory sitting there for an entire year. That inventory, you're going to be charged an additional fee on top of what you're used to paying, and so that's something that's not new. Of course, these fees go up. The long-term storage fees, the 1 year long-term storage fees is about, I believe it's now $6.90 per month per cubic foot, which is an extremely high fee. Beyond that, we now have at the 9-month mark, you're going to pay what's called an aged inventory fee. So it's not called long-term storage. There's an aged inventory fee, and that's at the 9 month, between 9 months and the year, every month. So that's 3 months worth of fees before the long-term storage fees kick in, and that's $1.50 per cubic foot on top of that. So that's another fun fee.
So from the up to 9 months, what are you paying?
So up to 9 months, you're paying based on your tiered structure, and it's it's fairly moderate based on the tiered structure. But then when it goes into the 9 months, it's $1.50 per cubic foot.
Okay,
which is pretty high. But then if you don't move it within that 9 months, then you get into the long-term storage, which is $6.90 per cubic foot, which is on a monthly basis as well. So that's where you really get into Amazon just trying to make it just horrendous for you to actually have inventory sitting there for a long period of time.
I know I had somebody call me about 2 years ago when these long-term storage fees, they've been in effect for a long time. Yeah. But his bill was going to be $52,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So this is why we talk about this all the time. You really have to plan. You can't just throw your inventory in there like we used to be able to do. You can't just do that anymore.
Yep.
And that $52,000 could have been, I don't know how much they would have saved, but splitting it with that 3PL, it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah. Smart inventory strategy is becoming a lot more important. And it's funny, we have, sometimes people get very kind of reactive, responsive, less proactive in their business. And so that's one of the things that I'm starting to see is, restock limits came about and everyone was really into inventory, and, inventory was like the thing that everyone wanted to know about. And then restock limits beginning of this year started easing up, and, people started kind of letting off of that and getting a little bit more free with that because Amazon would let them have stuff in there. But now that Amazon's got your stuff, you're going to pay for it. And that's the thing that people aren't really thinking as proactively about, and why I encourage people to start taking up what I call inventory-minded marketing, which is taking your marketing and your inventory and making them work together so that you don't end up with a bunch of overstock that you're about to be charged a bunch of money for, or that you have to, pull and create a removal order and be charged a bunch of money for. It's proactively working your inventory into your marketing, and your marketing into your inventory.
Okay, I've got more of an advanced question. And this is going to come down to holidays, Prime Day, fourth quarter. So we know that we're going to be able to move more inventory. Let's say you're one of these products. Now, Prime Day is coming up, but more fourth quarter sales or seasonal sales, Halloween. You want to move your inventory over to Amazon. You're only allowed so much before you fill up that amount. How can you, is there a way that you can get more inventory, allow Amazon to allow you to sell more inventory based on a seasonal sale? Do you know of any ways or tricks around that?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. Last year, around third quarter, people were invited to or could write in and ask about getting their restock limits increased based on having another marketing or another sales channel. So let's say Shopify or something like that. It was a little bit of a hack. Amazon does sometimes award you more space when you have these seasonal times coming up. But their formulas aren't as intelligent as they should be. So this was a way of going about it where you said, hey, I've got Shopify and I've got, these other channels, eBay or whatever, and I need more space because I want Amazon to fulfill it, because Amazon, they set their restock limits. People pulled everything but their FBA inventory. And they said, I'm not going to fulfill Shopify. I got to fulfill Shopify someplace else. I got to do my eBay someplace else because Amazon's not giving me the room. So Amazon realized that that wasn't a good strategy for them, because not only were they losing out on those fees, which, was one thing, but they were more importantly losing out on the data. They weren't getting the data, the customer data, shipping data, email, phone that they need. They need to have that data to be able to deliver, those Shopify orders. And so they were losing out on the customer data from their competitors, and they were losing out on how much traffic they were losing to their competitors. So that gave them a lot of insight. So you could write in, or some people were just getting emails. I got one of our users got an email, and his inventory amount doubled overnight. And they said, here you go. If you want more, you can ask for more. Send us an email. And so we kind of dropped that and said, hey, here's the email. And people were writing in, and, a couple of days later, oh, my, restock limits increased by 50%. And someone tried to do we have the email on sostock.com/restock limit or restock, if anyone wants to try it and see if it still works. And it's basically the multi-channel department that you're dealing with.
Now, what about now you get you get twice or three times the amount of inventory in Amazon.
Yep.
The fourth quarter is over. Let's say it's January 15th, and you've got a ton of inventory in stock.
Yeah.
And based on that, you don't know if you can move it or not. And you're worried, like, let's say I'm worried about the fees that are going to happen.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you can remove it, get it back to your warehouse? What is the strategy there?
I mean, that becomes a little bit difficult in terms of removing, because the removal fees are quite high, and that's kind of one of those things where you have to decide, how much do I send in, because obviously you don't want to stock out, but at the same time, you don't know, you can't be super confident that you're going to be able to get your inventory in. My suggestion before the holiday would be to send in as much as you think you'll need, and then have additional inventory that you can send in small parcel delivery, because even after the cutoff dates, you can sometimes get inventory in small parcel delivery. So after Prime Day or Black Friday, or not after Prime Day, but after Black Friday, and after, usually it's like about the 5th of December is the cutoff for Christmas, you might be able to get additional inventory in that way. So that might be a way to go about it. But then as far as removal orders, that'd
be killer.
That would be a killer. You might have to even assess, if I were to, quote, sell this to myself at a discount, would that be less costly? I don't know. You'd have to kind of run the numbers, but that's where it does get, very costly, I think, to remove your inventory.
Yeah. And I guess what you can do too is you can plan. If you do, that was a great point about just being able to move X. And then when you're getting into December, move Y. And if you're stuck with the inventory, then you can start looking at multiple types of campaigns, promotional campaigns that you can drive. And especially, we talk about email list. If you have that email list, or if you can create lightning deals, or if you can do something, if you've got a game plan that you can move this inventory, then it doesn't hurt as much. But you don't want to give it away either. If you're doing that, then it doesn't make any sense. All the profit that you made is gone. All right. So let me see. We haven't heard anything from our listeners yet about their questions, or we've got one question, but their comments on, if they're having any issues with their supply chain right now. And if they got around it, tell us how you have strategized to make this more profitable for you. The other thing is, we are having a great Wheel of Kelsey today. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you'll get a second entry. And if this is your first time, well, put in hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, and Chelsea, not Kelsey, is going to explain what the giveaway is today.
Sure. So today, So Stocked is giving a free 3 months of So Stock. So if you are interested in getting your inventory, more on track, getting it more systemized, creating purchase order systems and forecasting calculations, So Stocked is the tool to help you with that. And we'll be giving, like I said, 3 months of So Stocked away for free.
Fantastic. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, you'll grab a second entry. And now Kelsey, not Chelsea, just put your finger on that button. Get ready, Kels. We're going to have a word from our sponsor. The Legion is your go-to community where you can learn, grow, and build your Amazon and e-commerce business. As you know, being an entrepreneur can be lonely. Now you can share struggles, build a network, and celebrate your successes. And guess what? Our community is free. All you have to do is head over to our Facebook group to join. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel at Private Label Legion, so you can stay up to date with tips, strategies, and advice from other experts in the industry. Okay, remember one thing. To get all this great information, follow us, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get automatic notifications. Okay, we're back. Let's get on to the next question, which is effective yet underutilized profit recovery strategies.
Sure. Yeah. It's actually one of my favorite topics right now. And this is something that aggregators are doing. They're buying up brands and they're implementing these strategies. And I feel like if you're going to sell your brand to an aggregator, you might as well implement these strategies, in the year before you sell it, because what they're doing is they're adding instant equity. They're saving money, and then every product beyond that point is actually a lot more profitable. So it's, like I said, strategies that aggregators are using and that you should be using as well. And that's essentially, the term I use is profit optimization across the supply chain. And it should start with you redoing your packaging if at all possible. And that's not possible for everybody. But beyond that, the next step is to get as many units per carton and as many units per pallet and as many units per container as absolutely possible. And the way that you would do that is you essentially, it's a lot of math involved, but you have to kind of work it backwards. You have to look at my unit dimensions and my pallet dimensions, and what is the optimum container size to be able to fit as many cartons on that pallet and as many units within that carton. Because if you're paying for, carton labeling fees, carton handling fees, pallet storage fees, palletizing fees, all of those fees add up. So if you're able to reduce the number of cartons and reduce the number of pallets by getting more units on each one of them, you're dispersing those fees across more units, and you're also reducing the number of fees that you have. So that's those are things that I like to kind of figure out. And we actually built a tool called the Master Carton Calculator, which is available on sostock.com/tools. We have the Master Carton Calculator there. And that helps you with all of the crazy math on that to figure out what that pack list is going to look like, how to repack your products, and then how much savings you would have when you look at all of the fees that you're being charged by your 3PLs. How much can you actually save once you make that change?
Yeah, that's that packaging can make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, one thing that you kind of have to look on the other side too,
Mm-hmm.
if it's jeopardizing your overall perceived value,
Yeah.
then you've got to kind of weigh it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you need that extra inch for something,
Yeah.
you could be jeopardizing an extra $1 or $2. But in most cases, you're absolutely right. If you can play Tetris with your packaging,
Mm-hmm.
and you can squeeze in an extra few packaging per carton, and then reconfigure your pallet,
Mm-hmm.
that could be, I don't want to say a game changer, but it could definitely save you a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I would go so far, it could be a game changer. It could take a product from being, not too profitable to more profitable than you originally thought. We've got some people who have used the calculator, and the numbers have shown that they're using less than 50% of their pallet because it's not configured properly. A person might think, well, Amazon's dimensions say that I can go to 25 inches. So I want to use all of that and go to 25 inches. The problem is that when you have a pallet, the long side is 48 and the short side is 40. So you can only fit one carton at 25 inches on that pallet without any overhang. And Amazon discourages overhang. They said that's a violation of their policy, is you should not have any overhang over your pallets either. So if a person were able to double the amount of units on each carton and reduce the pallets by 50%, that's a significant saving. So those are things that, all of a sudden a person can become a lot more profitable, or a product that they thought wasn't profitable might become profitable just simply by restructuring some things. Yeah.
And one of the areas that we saw this, because all of our memory foam was coming from China, is when we decided to shrink wrap and vacuum seal them. I mean, it made a huge difference on how many units we could send over and the way that we configured the pallet. And you hear about it, you'll hear people talking about make sure you get so many boxes or but it is so important, like you said. So that with the memory foam that we have, that was a huge change. That was a big difference in profit. So you can save a lot of it, but it is kind of funny though, because when you start looking at, like, sometimes with perceived value, packages that are chic and small are way more profitable than the big bulky ones, right?
Yep. And the interesting thing is, all of these things add up, but it's a trickle down effect. So if you change the product, then you can fit more. If you reduce the product size, you can fit more units per carton and more units per pallet. And I had a friend who sold sunglasses, had sunglasses in one of those big, bulky, kind of hard cases. Switched it to a soft cloth case and significantly lowered the profile of that to about, a third or a fourth of what it was before, and then was able to put more units per carton, per pallet, per container, and completely change the profitability of that product.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that, and that was crazy. All right.
Yeah.
Tell us some other examples. I want to hear your craziest, case studies about, what people have done and what some of the changes have been.
Yeah. I would say, vacuum sealing pillows. I've heard, vacuum sealing pillows can be a big shift. And we actually did a case study on two pillow products. They're exact same pillow product. And one of them was in the oversized category, and another one was in the large standard category. So small oversized versus large standard. And looking at the dimensions, the view is that the large standard is using vacuum sealed. So when you run the comparison and you look at, dimensional weight fees, the increase, the change in the sizes was, one was being charged at 12 pounds. Originally was 3 pounds. The other one was being charged at 21 pounds because it was the oversize. And so you got this huge difference, 12 versus 21 pounds, which was affecting the fulfillment fees, the FBA fulfillment fees, but it was also affecting everything on down the line. So we ran the analysis of these two products. And let me just pull up the number here. Looking at storage fees, what was the cost in storage fees? What was the cost in container shipping? There's a really great container tool called the peer-to-peer, which is peer, meaning like a doc, peer-to, the number 2, peer.com/load calc, like a calculator. And ran it through that as well, because we wanted to optimize, given these dimensions, we wanted to optimize everything as much as possible and give them the benefit of the doubt. Looking at palletizing, receiving costs, all of those things. And beyond just, beyond what they're paying for PPC or cost of goods sold, the smaller product in total fees and landed cost was $14.40, not including cost of goods. And the larger product was $26.10. It was over $11.70 per unit in fees, in additional fees that were being paid just because of the size and how much that affects, the storage and the palletizing, and all of those things were almost double what they would have been otherwise. Wow.
Okay. Now, what about, and we've talked about a few of these things, but inventory strategies. Are there any other crucial inventory strategies to help recover profit and scalability?
Yes. So one of the things that I talk about is inventory-minded marketing, and mentioned it before. How to get the marketing and the inventory teams to work together, because that was one of the biggest things that I found before even 2020. I was, when we launched SoStock in 2019, I was doing all of the calls. I was talking to people one-on-one, getting them into the software and asking questions about what their pain points were. And, you'd have people who would stock themselves out by doing aggressive marketing, and they weren't connecting the dots with marketing versus inventory. I even had a client who did a promotion, and it was on Mother's Day, and did 20% off coupon, and then the next month is running out of stock. So it becomes really, really expensive, not just the stocking out and the relaunching and the air shipping and all of that stuff that you have to do beforehand, but all those 20% off coupons could have been full price sales and stayed in stock. So those are some of the most common problems. And so that's why inventory minded marketing was kind of born, was how do we get these teams? What are those things that need to be coordinated? And so the first genesis of that was, let's create a marketing spreadsheet that can then go to the inventory team. They can plug that data in. And that's something we have within SoStocked, is plugging your marketing campaigns into your inventory campaigns, and then the numbers will change accordingly. And so that's kind of the first and foremost, that's kind of the first step at inventory minded marketing. But the second piece, which again becomes more important than ever with all of these fees, is the inventory team actually has to be proactive and send data to the marketing team that the marketing team then puts into their plans. So one of them is the stock out risk report. And that report is just what it sounds like. Here are the products that are at risk of stocking out. If you don't do something, they're going to stock out. And so that's a list of, those SKUs and how many days will they stock out? If it's going to stock out for 8 days, well, maybe there's a way to prevent that stock out just by kind of lightening up on some of the more aggressive or less profitable ad campaigns. You can probably avoid a short-term stock out. Then you have slow sellers. What are those products that you need to ramp the sales up before they become, these products that now you're going to have to remove at, however many dollars per unit. Slow sellers. So that's, what is that range that you consider a slow seller? Not like, let's, completely give up on this product and liquidate it. The liquidation report would be a different report, but, let's say it's 5 to 20 sales a day. And that tells the marketing team, hey, this is probably something that you should market. Get it, move it up the top of this list so it doesn't move out the bottom of the list, right? And then the last one would be the overstock report. So best sellers could come onto this report. Liquidation and slow sellers, of course, would possibly be on the report, but best sellers could also be on the report. And that tells you, hey, you've actually got some resources that you need to move quickly before they become, a problem, a long-term storage problem. But you actually have, it's a little bit of an asset. You have this additional inventory. If you want to go after that keyword, you could use this inventory to go after that keyword. And so it helps to open the eyes of the marketing team onto what is possible with the inventory that they have on hand.
You were talking about a few things. Like one of them, if you have a slow mover, what are your thoughts? Instead of possibly going liquidation, discounting it. I don't think people utilize that enough, is just go in there, discount it by 30, 40, 50%, just get rid of it, or bundling it as an added value product and putting it together with one of your better sellers as an added, just a bit of a bonus. And there are ways that we can move these products. What are your thoughts on, we talked about, there was a coupon before a stock out that you were just mentioning that could have been a regular price.
Right.
But when you do have a Prime Day or these holidays that are coming up, are you doing significant discounts, or what are your thoughts on discounting? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, if it serves a purpose, if you have excess inventory, I think it's a good idea to do that, or to, possibly play out that scenario of like, how much excess inventory do I have? Is this getting borderline kind of, scary, right? Is this going to be something where I'm going to start paying aged inventory fees? I'm going to start having to place removal orders. it's something that I think is important. Discounting, or there's all these other lightning deals, deal of the days, those types of things. There's outlet deals. You also might have access to outlet deals on some of your excess inventory products, and that can be found in the inventory dashboard under excess inventory. If you are not careful, these could cost you more. So you may think that discounting lowers the value of your product, but if it's a product that is not going well anyway, it might be something that a discount could revitalize that product.
Yeah, even if it's a product that for some reason, one reason or another, maybe you were stocked out and now you got your inventory back in. Right. You might want to lower your price to get the sales going, to get the sales velocity going, so you can get the sales moving again. Yeah. So that's something we haven't talked about. What are the effects when you stock out? Okay, let's say you stock out for one time or two times or three times. Is there a difference every time you stock out? Is there a difference?
Yeah, interestingly enough, some of the things that Amazon has done, and I haven't been able to see enough examples of this to determine whether this is a product that is a subscription product or a product that is a consumable. One of the ones I saw it on was a consumable product, but Amazon actually put a label on there saying this product frequently stocks out. You may want to consider these other products. Yes.
I have never seen that.
Yes. I was just, I think someone sent it to me and I was just like, wow, Amazon's literally just like throwing people to your competitors in that case. It was, I think, a supplements product. So that's one of the things that I think is very different. If you're stocked out, if you stock out considerably, Amazon can have a tendency to change their algorithm to kind of work against you. If they know that you're not able to stay in stock, especially as a subscription-based or a consumable product, why would they want to throw people your way? They would rather throw people to a product that is going to, be able to stay in stock more consistently. So there's that. And then there's also, when you get close to stocking out, there's something called geo-ranking. And that's if you don't have enough inventory spread across the country, your sales start slowing down. So this is before you go out of stock. So if you 30 days was a kind of a good estimate, 30 to 45 days is a good amount of inventory to keep at Amazon. If you have, let's say, 10 days worth of inventory, there are going to be certain parts of the country that are not going to have inventory to provide to those parts of the country. So Amazon will start to reduce the ranking within those specific areas. So let's say the Midwest doesn't have any of your stock. They're going to start reducing your product in the rankings. They're not going to keep showing it on the ads. So you're not going to win the bids for the ads in those specific areas. And you may not be able to tell why the slowdown is happening. One of the tricks that you may be able to use is, you can download a report that shows you where your inventory is, but you can also change your zip code in your buying account, and then you'll be able to see, where your product is showing up for that specific area.
Okay, very interesting. I had my experience with this is that we had a product that we launched. It was it started at 6,000-7,000. Went up to 23 the next month, got to 68 the month after that. It peaked at 124. As we were going in to the next month, it was like, we got to get this product. It was an American-made product, so we could turn it around fairly quickly. Didn't happen. So stocked out the first time. To get it back to where we were ranking, we could only get it around the 68,000 units. Stocked out again. Got back, and this happened 5 times. Wow. The product, I left the product. I wasn't going to work with somebody who kept running out of inventory, but I check on it once in a while just to see if I made a good or bad decision. And the last time I checked on it, they could only get to $2,400 a month.
Wow.
And I knew whatever I threw at it, whatever marketing, whatever influencers, whatever, it would cost me tens of thousands of dollars to try to get that back to where it was. It just wasn't going to work. 5 times, and it was such a successful product.
So 5 times stocked out?
5 times stocked out in 1 year.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it can be a killer. Amazon's algorithms, are more skewed for people who can stay in stock. And so, they tend to kind of discourage sellers who can't.
Right, exactly that. So, I mean, a question along those lines, where's the sweet spot? If I'm going to load up Amazon, what are they looking at? Do you know?
Sell-through is the most important thing for Amazon. So, turning over your inventory more quickly. And of course, you don't want to run out. And of course, it costs every time you send inventory in. But I'd say, between 60 and 90 days would be a good place to sit in terms of inventory for turnover. If you look at kind of all of the things that Amazon, has done and what their, inventory performance index score is based on, everything points back to sell through. And even, their restock, their restock limits algorithm is designed towards sell-through. If you stock out, they don't give you the benefit of the doubt that you could have sold X number of units. They say, well, this is what you sold, so this is what you get. Luckily, that's not the case anymore. But everything that they have done, sell-through, stranded inventory, excess inventory, stock outs, those all have to do, all those numbers some way are influenced by sell-through.
Yeah, I kind of put a number of 2.5 months. That in general, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm glad you said 60 to 90 days.
60 to 90, yeah.
Okay. So Kelsey, I think there's a couple of questions here. I just saw one from a Facebook user as well, but what questions do we have?
Okay, the first one is from Yanni. Is it a good idea to ship 2 SKUs in one box? Let's say glass salad container with light bulbs inside. Later on, they'll be separated and shipped to Amazon or the customer.
I mean, I don't see why not. Is that they'll be separated and shipped to Amazon or the customer? I'm not sure. I guess to clarify where you're shipping it before you ship it to Amazon, I don't see why that would be a problem. And is this a private label product or is this a wholesale product?
Okay, so Yanni, if you could just clarify in the comments if you're still with us. Norm, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I know if I'm shipping out an ASIN, I usually try to keep them completely separate because I've had where we've shipped in products where there might be, like for me, soap scents. It's a nightmare if they don't receive them correctly. So maybe if it's just, the odd one, that's fine. But I just try to keep it separate if possible.
Okay, great. So there's still time for the hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. I think that's it for questions.
What was the one from? I think there's a Facebook user towards the bottom. Something I can't even read with these glasses on. I just realized that.
It's not a question.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm old. I have an excuse.
But if you're interested in winning 3 months of So Stocked, comment hashtag Wheel of Kelsey in the comment sections, and you'll be added to the draw. We're going to be spinning it super shortly. Norm, is there anything else?
I think. Well, I do have one more question, and that's it's about the logistics flexibility, and how does it factor into profitability?
Sure. So logistics flexibility has a lot to do with avoiding stockouts. So, essentially the first rule of avoiding a stockout is never let anyone have all your stuff. That's one of those things I learned in 2015 when I let Amazon have all my inventory right before Christmas, and they lost it before Christmas and found it after Christmas.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So it was one of those nightmares. So logistics flexibility is this idea of being flexible, always having kind of a plan A, B, C, D. And we actually had someone on one of the webinars who implemented this and said she had not stocked out after implementing this. And that would be, if you were ordering a container load, what you'd want to do is you want to order a container load plus, let's say, a month or two of inventory, and you keep that inventory with your supplier. And then once you send out that container, you keep that inventory with your supplier. Usually they won't charge you for storing inventory there. And then if you have to send that inventory by air, let's say that the boat doesn't arrive on time, then you have the inventory there to send by air if absolutely necessary, but you don't send it if you don't have to send it. If the inventory arrives on time, then you'll just put that on the next boat. And you just kind of keep that cycle going, but it's this inventory that's already been produced and it's sitting there waiting for you in case you need it. And oftentimes you can get your supplier not to charge you for the inventory that hasn't left their warehouse. So you would only pay that, you would pay the 30% for everything and then 70% for, the inventory that shipped, and then the other inventory you would pay when that shipped as well. So that's kind of the gist of flexibility, inventory flexibility. And the same thing would be carried over to your 3PL, where you would send most of your inventory, full truckload or less than truckload, and then everything else, small parcel delivery if it was needed.
Okay, very good. On that note, I think it's about that time. Kels, do we have one more word from the sponsor, and then we'll go to the Wheel of Kelsey? A big thank you to our sponsor, Startup Club, the largest club on Clubhouse with over 790,000 members and growing. They're one of the world's largest communities supporting the startup ecosystem, from founders to those wishing to work for a startup and everything in between. You can find them at www.startup.club for blogs, recordings, and a calendar of upcoming shows, and on the Clubhouse app. Just search Startup Club for daily shows 24/7. You can also now listen to their show, the Serial Entrepreneur Club podcast, on Apple and Spotify too. Stop by to connect, learn, and grow together. All right. So
okay,
Kelsey,
it's that time.
It is
the Wheel of Kelsey. All right, so here we go. It's everyone's favorite time, the Wheel of Kelsey.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right, so thank you everyone for entering. If you are the winner, please email me k@lunchwithnorm.com with your email information, and we'll get you your 3 months of So Stocked. It looks like the winner,
Michael.
Michael.
I don't think he's won in a long time.
All right, congratulations, Michael. So make sure you email me, and we'll connect you with Chelsea and get your information. Okay, great. Thank you. Chelsea, how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in more information?
Sure. Just go to sostocked.com/connect. It's all my socials and my email and tools and all of that. If you do, Facebook is the best place to find me. If you do, or LinkedIn, Facebook or LinkedIn, if you do write to me or friend request me, write me an email. Let me know you heard me on Lunch with Norm, and then I can easily connect with you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Miss Cohen, thank you so much for being on again. It was great. This is a super topic, and everybody's trying to save money nowadays, and just by taking one of your tips, they could save money, and it's so important. And knowing your numbers and just everything that you talked about was, by the way, if you could send over that information about the dimension calculations, that would be fantastic.
Of course.
And we'll get
thanks
that
so much
into
for
our
having
group.
me.
It's our pleasure. And you know what? We'll see. we're definitely going to see each other somewhere in the world sometime in the next probably month or two.
Yes.
All
Jet
right.
setting.
Yes, exactly. Well, say hi to your husband for me, and
will.
we will see you later, Chelsea.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Kelsey, where the heck are you?
Hello. Yes, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you are not part of the community, I highly recommend you head over to our Lunch with Norm Facebook group. That is the one that says Lunch with Norm, Amazon, FBA, and eCommerce Collective. We actually just hooked up with Carbon 6 and are going to be releasing some free little giveaways available for everyone in the Facebook group. So make sure you check over there. They're going to be released throughout this week. So keep checking in on the Facebook group and we'll get you that information. Also, we'll be posting Chelsea's slides too, or some of the informations as well. Also, don't forget to smash those like buttons if you enjoyed today's episode. Also, if you have any questions, if you have topic ideas, if you saw a guest on another podcast and you're dying to have them on here, we'll see what we can do. Reach out to me, k@lunchwithnorm.com, and we'll do our very best to accommodate you guys. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered everything.
One of the things I can add too is please make sure you go over to sostock.com/tools. There are a bunch of really good tools that are at that URL. I highly recommend it. When I saw Chelsea's presentation in Mexico, I went over there, and there were some great tools. So I'm sure you're all going to like them, and they're all free. Okay, so thank you for joining us today. And we run this podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at noon Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for being part of our community. We say this every podcast. We could not do this without you. We appreciate you guys putting up with us and being part of our community. We love it. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time.
Lunch with